All right, welcome to our practice test video. Starting with number 1, we're going to distribute to get 10x minus 2 minus 2 times 3 minus the opposite value of 2x less than or equal to negative 8 plus 2x. Move the 10x over, add the 2, and we get negative 2 is times the absolute value of 3 minus 2x less than or equal to negative 6 minus 8x. Divide by negative 2, and we get the absolute value of 3 minus 2x is greater than or equal to, whoops, didn't want that, little difficulty there. Greater than or equal to 3 plus 4x. Sorry for that. Pressed the wrong button. Now, we've isolated the absolute value. Greater than means it's an OR. So now we set up two equations, two inequalities. 3 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 3 plus 4x. And 3 minus 2x is less than or equal to the opposite, which is negative 3 minus 4x. Solve each one separately. So we get, subtract the 4x there. So we get negative 6x is greater than or equal to 0. Divide by negative 6, which means we flip the inequality. So x is less than or equal to 0. So here we subtract the 3. We add the 4x. So we get 2x is less than or equal to negative 6. Divide by 2. And we get x is less than or equal to negative 3. So when we draw it on the number line, we have 0, negative 3. Less than or equal to negative 3 goes that way. Less than or equal to 0 goes that way. We know that it's going to rain here. So basically, since it's an OR, it's going to be from negative infinity to 0 with the bracket, because it's where it rains, not the overlap. All right, number 2. We're going to distribute. Here, let's see if we can get another pen. This thing doesn't like to cooperate. We're going to distribute. So we get, first we're going to FOIL, so we get 3x squared minus 2x plus 12x minus 8 minus 20 is less than 54x minus 21x squared. Then we're going to combine like terms. So we get 3x squared plus 10x minus 28 less than 54x minus 21x squared. Now we're going to have 0 on this side. So basically we have to add 21x squared and subtract 54x. Wrong one. So we're going to subtract 54x and add 21x squared. So we get 24x squared minus 44x minus 28. Just waiting for it to scroll down for me. All right, so now we can factor, and notice the first rule of factoring is to factor out what they have in common, which is a 4. So we're left with 6x squared minus 11x minus 7. And remember, we want to set it equal to 0 because we want to get the critical numbers. Remember, 6 times negative 7 is negative 42, and the factors of negative 42 which add to negative 11 are negative 14 and positive 3. So when we factor, we get 6x squared minus 11x, or sorry, 6x squared minus 14x plus 3x minus 7 equals 0. Then we can factor by grouping. So we get factor out a 2x, so we get 3x minus 7. Factor out, well, there's nothing to factor out, but they always have a 1 in common. And then notice it's the same here. So it's 3x minus 7 times 2x plus 1. And when we set those equal to 0 and solve, we get x equals 7/3 and x equals negative 1/2. Now we set up a number line with negative 1/2 and 7/3. And we do test intervals. So less than negative 1/2 would be 0. Between negative 1/2 and 7/3, or sorry, less than negative 1/2 would be negative 1. Between negative 1/2 and 7/3 would be 0. And greater than 7/3 would be 4. So we write our factors, 3x minus 7, 2x plus 1, and then the product of them, 3x minus 7 times 2x plus 1. So when we put negative 1 in, we get negative, negative, which means positive when we multiply it. We put 0 in, we get negative, positive, negative. And when we put 4 in, we get positive, positive, positive. So remember that we want it when it's less than 0, so that means the negative. So that means we're going to go from negative 1/2 to 7/3 because it's going to be between the two numbers. And since it's just less than, we put parentheses. All right, number 3, remember we want to make it 0 on the right-hand side. So we're going to subtract 1, so we get 3 minus x over x plus 4. Minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. Then we want to get a common denominator. Then that denominator is x plus 4. So we're going to put x plus 4 over x plus 4 here. Then we got a common denominator, so we're going to combine the numerators. So we have 3 minus x minus x plus 4. So remember, distribute the negative sign. So you get 3 minus x minus 4 all over x plus 4. So then combine like terms, you get negative 2x minus 1 over x plus 4 is less than or equal to 0. So now we're going to find the critical numbers. So we have to set each, the numerator and the denominator equal to 0. So we get x equals negative 4 as one critical number, and x equals negative 1/2 as the other. So those are the ones we're going to use on our number line, negative 4 and negative 1/2. Keeping in mind that x equals negative 4 is a restriction, so it can't equal negative 4, because that would make the denominator equal 0 in the original problem. So we have negative 2x minus 1, we have x plus 4, and we have the quotient negative 2x minus 1 over x plus 4. Those are our 3 terms that help us make up our chart. So we'll choose negative 5, we'll choose negative 1, and 0 as in our intervals. When we put negative 5 in, we get a positive, a negative, which means negative. When we put negative 1 in, we get positive, positive, positive. And when we put 0 in, we get negative, positive, negative. Since we're looking for less than or equal to 0, we use the two n's. And so that means our answer is less than -4. And remember, we have a parenthesis there, even though it's equal to, because -4 is a restriction. And it's greater than or equal to, so we put a bracket, greater than or equal to -1/2. That is our answer.